But I'm Marquette from Crook County, so there were 7 tables counting 87 ballots, 560 ballots, a little bit more, almost 600 ballots were counted in this room. That's more than a precinct. The last 2 years, Crook County spent $40,000 just on licensing fees for ES&S. That doesn't include the cost of machines, that doesn't include the paper, it doesn't include anything else that's going to happen in the election. Just a licensing fee to be able to use the machines in this next election, they spent $40,000.
Do you know the number of ballots that were counted in Crook County?
3,200 ballots in Crook County last time.
Well, we're going to go through and have everyone give just like a minute or less. Like I said, something you like, something that you have made a mistake and how you walk through it, what made you uncomfortable, what did you really like, and so on and so forth. We'll start with you. And again, a minute or less, and I hope you'll be honest and share with us, because we want to grow and learn. So I'll let you start. Say your first name. And everyone.
Please stand up.
Oh no, the stand up thing.
My name is Jolie. I'm from Osage. This is, I think, my 5th time that I've done this. And I think the best thing about it is how easy it is to find your error and go back and fix it in a timely manner. And I like that it's easy for just about anybody to pick up and understand.
Very good. Thank you. Next.
My name is Trish. I'm 10 miles east in Wolf Canyon. I noticed when I was a caller, I was trying to kind of watch the two, what are they called? Talliers. So I would say a name and I would kind of see them each one in, and I'd say the next name. And one time I said undervote, and I watched one mark it, and the other one looked at me and said, "What did you say?" So I said undervote. So then she marked, and then the first one marked it again, because I said it twice.
Oh.
So I thought that was interesting, just a lesson.
And how did you correct it?
Then we had to go back and recount the ballots in that stack of 25 and use the other direction to make an X and got it 6.
And you figured it out.
We figured it out.
Well done. Well done. And she's a newbie. She said she's a newbie, but she did really good.
So I'm Liz, and I came back after lunch and put my soup on the ballot and it spilled.
I love it.
She's good, everybody, so go ahead.
Well, I'm Ted, and the one thing I noticed when we were turning the pages is have a routine. So you look at, read the name, move the page, look at, read the name, move the page. Because at one point, we were in the middle of moving the page and one of us stopped for a second and all of a sudden it was like, well, did we count that ballot or didn't we? So it was just develop a routine of how you move that paper and then go to the next pile once you've read the name.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well done. Great.
It helped when you let us know the difference, when to use the red pen, because we hadn't known that. And it was like, okay, so I gotta do this math, because I'm not doing the math to get to 25. I already counted 25. You know, this will work, the red pen helps.
Very
Be able to differentiate when you hit a 25 mark.
Right.
And Carol, what's your name?
And my name is Carol.
Well, I have an apology to you to make. I did not tell you to do 25 ballots in blue and then change the pen to 25 in red. That's on me, but what's exciting is you overcame it. Some of you overcame that. I'm very excited for that. But it also gives you hope is that you don't have to be perfect to help run an election. I am not perfect. Sure.
One other observation was when we did our second race, noticing that the tallies on both races were identical.
Yep.
So you know you're counting the same number of ballots, so you know they should be identical. If something wasn't,
Very good.
you can check it.
You, sir.
My name is John, and I'm a newbie, and I've got a lot of my questions answered.
Good.
I like what I see, and I like the fact that there were a whole lot of little self-checks in there, little checks built into the system. You know, just like you said, just add up both pages, same amount of votes, make sure it adds up. I mean, there's several little self-checks built in.
Absolutely.
I really liked it, so. And I was just wondering too, do we all get to vote whether there's gonna be hand counts? Or is this just gonna be left up to Cheyenne to do this? You know, like, how do we go about doing it? I like this.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Well, I'm all in for the whole state to go to hand counting. I do believe there's a bill in this legislative session right now, so we need to support it. Senator Scott Smith, he's putting in a hand count and remove the machine bill, so go and testify if that's what your desire is, and help him. Send letters, so on and so forth. So, anyway, thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
If you can't go to Cheyenne, you can sign up the night before and speak on Zoom.
Yes.
You can still
Very well
have a
done.
powerful impact, and you can write your legislators.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
You just need a bill number, and the LAC would probably help you with that.
yes. And there's also a place to write a letter. You can send a letter in as well. So please share your thoughts and your opinions on it. Next, ma'am.
Pass.
Okay, pass.
I'll speak for her too.
Okay.
Both of us, this is our first time.
Oh, wonderful.
And we got a neighbor lady, Susan Love, and coach is in the public.
Good job.
And it was good to have her and Mike sitting here because they've both done this.
Good.
So they were a lot of help and they made some mistakes too. And
Yes.
we found out how they fixed them, the recounting, and it's worked good. It's interesting. I'd like to see this go nationwide with the hand count.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Very good. Cool. You, sir. Someone.
My turn?
Your turn.
Ted? I'm not trying to repeat everything everybody else said. We make mistakes at our table. We learn mistakes, come through them.
It's just Carrie.
Oh, okay, Carrie was one. I can't say my wife made the mistake. But so I do like the double check system. So I got my attaboys paid the first time this month. It's
I love it.
the end of the month, so I'm due one.
Yeah. Sue?
So, I think it's absolutely wonderful that we have this whole room of happy patriots. The noise level, really impacted our counting and our process. But if we were doing this for real, or if we were trying to train our community, and we will get there when we get to a real training, we'll have more room, we'll have acoustics, sorted out, we'll take what we learned from this and fix it.
Do you have like truant officers at a real training or the real counting?
Yeah, we'll have training. Yeah, you always go through training before election, just like you do
But
election.
do you have like officers that will
No.
tell people to calm down or
Nope,
whatever?
it's just
Okay.
people. It's people, and then you have poll watchers to observe.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
So, that is actually up to our county clerk, and we, as our community, are just here to help her through the new process.
Okay.
It's actually up to our county commissioners.
I don't know any of them.
We heard you say that.
I'm Marty, and I dress exactly like him because I don't know where he's at, and I have to pay attention to him all the time. It was a wonderful opportunity, and I was supposed to keep this under 60 seconds, and I'm a county commissioner. That doesn't happen. So there's no way that you ever could go against or for it if you don't sit your butt in this chair and learn something. And so I would encourage anybody that, I think what you have is a lot of people that desire to come in here on a positive note. Do you see what I'm saying? I think it would be very good to get those who are on a negative vote to come in and sit down and say, let's take a breath. I think what was really fun is what we got is a little community right here.
Yes.
And what was nice is to have the ability to, I messed up twice. And for us to say, okay, how are we gonna figure that out? And so what we decided to do when we were doing that is we started counting the numbers. So when we were marking them, we both got 35, the next one was 45. And so we worked it out amongst ourselves.
That's right.
And so that was kind of a really cool way of understanding that there were not concrete rules. There was a community rule.
Yes.
And I can see where the downside would be that, but I also see the positive of that. And I think we build on the positive. And if anybody else doesn't want to talk, then I'm sorry I took your time.
I thought Carrie made the mistake.
I did, she did. I was just taking up work.
It's a community.
One of the things that I found most compelling about this is when you hand count them, you look at the ballots and you make a judgment on what the voter really wanted. So in the last election, a couple elections ago, I watched the absentee voters ballots, and one ballot had Donald Trump bubbled, Donald Trump circled, and she wrote Donald Trump next to Donald Trump. Now, clearly that person wanted to vote for Donald Trump, but when you put it in the machine, you don't really know if her vote was counted for Donald Trump because she did 3 things to him. Where if you're hand counting them and you're doing them within your community, you know exactly what the voter wanted to do, and I think that's important.
Very good. Very good. Yes, ma'am.
Well, we were perfect.
Your name?
Teresa Gross, I live in Newcastle, and then Suzanne.
You are in a church.
Well, I'm about ready to make a mistake. So Suzanne's like, you need to make a mistake so that we can learn what to do. And so we did an intentional mistake. And then I made a real mistake. And so we, we asked for help. I think the big thing, we're all new here, so ask for help for people that have gone through this. You're going to have human error, just like computer errors. I actually think doing this, you're going to have less errors. I've seen the machines. I've seen them spit out stuff. I've been an election judge for, I think, three or 4 cycles, and I hadn't been confident in the machine, and even not really knowing what I'm doing. And as I've done elections more and more, I've gotten more confident. But I think this is great, and to me, it's not really super time consuming, and I'm getting older, and so this is, if I can do it, I think anybody can do it.
Very good. Very good.
I'm Nick. Kind of what everybody else said. This was pretty easy, even for everybody here. Not really much else to add on to that, so I'll pass.
Thank you. Next.
I'm there. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, you're fine.
Table day, table day.
I am James. I'm from southern Wyoming, but now live in Newcastle. But that's a joke. Anyway, I thought it went really smooth with communicating beforehand exactly what we were going to do, what each person was going to do. So I think it's something that can easily be done, and you can feel confident that each person's vote was actually counted, and you don't have to question. And like in our mistake, it was initial where the mistake was, by the 2 where it was corrected. That was put on there, so anybody is transparency to see where it was done. Where versus a machine, you can't see that. If there was a mistake done on the hand counting, you can, and just a lot more confidence, I think, in the system.
Very good. Thank you.
And thank you for coming.
Oh, you bet.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
Anytime. Next.
I'm Suzanne, and
I think what Nick wanted to say is that old people can do this. They but what I liked is that we're actually looking at the paper ballot and what they've had in the past. If anybody's following, like the Georgia, the debacle in Arizona, it was the actual pieces of paper that they were, if it was off just a hair. And how you figured that out was like experts were doing that. It wasn't like by the train, like my eye or anybody else's eye, you would not have been able to see it. They brought in an expert that literally, that's what he was a forensic expert and he caught it. But the Georgia, they didn't want to hear it. They kept saying, but what's the problem? And he kept saying, you're holding it, it's the ballot. Well, we found out firsthand in Weston County, it was just an error on the ballot. It looked normal, but it was by the ballot. So I think this is gonna eradicate that problem. And I loved how like just every step was, there was a second person check. So even to the moving of the ballots, so that every ballot was counted, every vote. And you don't have to worry about having to write 3 times that you really want to vote for that person. It's fair. Very good.
I would want to add one other thing on the practice stuff that we did on the practice ballots, and the little dot where like someone had started to do. I've done that before. So now I wonder if my vote was even counted. The way you point that out, that the machine would count it over vote on just that one little spot instead of it all being filled in.
Right, very good. Next.
Glad to see Nick here. I hope that we can get more kids involved in doing this sort of thing. I'm Marion. I appreciated learning how to do this, and thank you for that, and working with other people. And I think 2 things that come to mind for me is really making sure that you're going to be able to hear, because some voices don't carry as well. And like we had the words blank and mark, and the K sound comes out and you're not, then you go back, did he really say that? So being aware that the other person might not have as good a hearing as you think they do, and you really have to be careful about that. That would be one thing that I thought was important. And having patience, especially when you're sitting next to your spouse who's can be
I'm the bad voice.
Yeah, he has a low voice that's hard to hear sometimes.
And I didn't bring my glasses. I have 2 excuses.
Don't work with your spouse.
We sat across from each other, wasn't that? But we overcame that difficulty, and and I'm confident that we got an accurate vote. So I think that even if you have problems, even if you have to use a slash and another slash and color it in, and maybe even another sheet, you can still make sure that you've got your accurate count on your.
You used another sheet?
Yes. But we got an accurate count, and that's the whole point.
That's right. And with your sheet, I think it was you guys that had that, you went through all the way through the 3 things, and you put it in the back, you would never destroy that. It always goes back with the tally, and you notation it on your, or you put a notation on your tally sheets when you give it to the clerk, because that none of that should be ever destroyed. So, but you did handle it very well. Very well. Next. Dawn? Oh, if you would like. Okay.
I'm Dawn, and I've been working on this type of thing for a long time, and I'm just thrilled to see all these people, because the clerks are prone to say, we aren't going to ever get enough people. And then you talk to people and they're like, but they're never going to let us do this. But once you learn how to do it and you see how the mistakes can be corrected, how transparent it is, and that people can feel good about their vote again, that makes such a difference. So I encourage anybody that was involved in this, like someone else said, try to get somebody that is negative towards it to actually experience it, because it is a game changer to have the experience. And that's about all I have.
That's wonderful. There you go.
Hi, I'm Sherry, and so it was a great experience, and I think what I loved about it is at our table, everyone was just trying to get it right. And so we just helped each other, and we supported each other. And if we made a mistake, you only had to go back 25 to find the mistake. And so so there was a lot of camaraderie and community, and you felt like every vote was a real vote that counted. So
Amen to that. Because they are. Next.
Hi, I'm Andy McKay from Newcastle. It's been 5 months since my wrong meeting. Sorry.
He's confessing. That was good.
So there were a lot of things. I'd just like to echo some of what we were hearing about with the accountability. We have the papers that we don't throw away, they don't get shredded. We have that to be able to go back to. We still have the ballots completely intact. So there's a lot of verification that can go on. And so that's something that means a lot to me. I did rock climbing a lot when I was younger. And one of the things that they always preached about was redundancy, because if you only have yourself strapped in one place and that place fails, well, that's going to be a really bad day. And I really appreciate all the different forms of redundancy that are in here. We did have a few different mistakes, and we were able to navigate those very easily, I felt like. And one thing, we also struggled with the amount of noise that was going on in the room. And that was where one of our mistakes happened, where we actually had to go back and start at the beginning of the 25 to go back through. And we learned a lot through that process, so I'm really glad that that happened. One of the things that might work out well, and I don't know how often, you're interrupted in counting when you're actually doing the tabulations, but having a piece of paper or maybe like one of those small Post-its with like the arrow so that you can put it right there, so that way this is the last person we counted, or this is the page that we were on when we counted. Some kind of a visual reminder in case there is an interruption may make that less likely to happen.
That's great suggestions. So, absolutely. Absolutely. Miss Wanda.
I'm Wanda. I'm from Gillette. And we've been through this several times. We've got a lot of people that really try hard to make it hard, but it isn't. We've done it at least twice on a completion basis and made it through both times with no problem. I highly recommend it. I think it's a refined process. I think it's very simple. And I can't see why they try to make it so costly. It's not. It's just having people that care, want to do it right.
That's right.
Could I jump in a little bit?
You
after
certainly
that?
can.
So I love that. And then also I feel like as we get more and more technology, a lot of the onus of being citizens of this country are being not necessarily stripped from us, but we're just surrendering them. And so I think that this is a really powerful thing where we can come back and be performing our civic duties as citizens of this country. So
Absolutely wonderful. Okay, let's get one more done and then we'll come back. Yes, sir. It's your turn.
Oh, splendid. Well, my name is Ken Kaufman from Newcastle, and I was at this other table, so we had an even number. I was over here because it's closer to the food. So, but anyway, the most powerful thing that I came away with was really two things. One was how we had absolute accountability. All four of us were watching each other, and finally, the other thing was I was surprised how easy it was once we practiced a little. So the comments about having a routine, absolutely. But the accountability, and then we had two sort of minor bobbles where we had to stop, fix it, and at the end we checked all the tallies, everything came out right. So I was just really impressed. And if you give me another 20 seconds, Walter, I asked my wife.
And cut.
She's not here because she wasn't feeling good today, but I asked her what she thought about the fact that the ES&S machines that we currently have are running Windows 10, which Microsoft says they won't support anymore. And that clues me in that it's very possible that ES&S will tell us they won't give us updated software or warranty it. I don't know. I haven't talked to them yet. But that's not a very good optic to the community of voters. And so I asked Lorraine, well, what do you think about it? And she says, I don't even care about that. I just don't trust machines at all. I want to vote by hand so people can double check and recount if they don't agree. And that's her opinion, and I can't help but think there are other people that see it that way.
There is a lot, yeah.
Thank you very much.
You bet. If you want to, don't you?
I'm gonna redeem myself from the soup. So, this training should be part of the subject that civics classes in high school should do.
Good point.
It should be a wonderful.
Worth the soup.
Do you mind if I ask a question or two as a whole? How many tables, it may be simpler this way, were there any tables that did not have errors as you were doing your count?
Oh, that's the thing.
Okay, so we all had errors in this thing. How many tables did not correct the errors? Did you have problems correcting the errors? Everybody had their errors correct? Can I see a hands? Were they corrected? Okay. Was it fairly simple to correct those errors?
Yes.
Hands? Awesome. Thank you.
Jill,
Very good.
how many ballots were handed out?
187, yeah.
No, total. It was just 87, the same copies in every.
Yeah, it's all the same ballots, yeah.
Can I say
Most
something?
generally, yeah. Some of them, a couple extras in there. Go ahead.
I'm Marquette from Crook County, so there were 7 tables counting 87 ballots, 560 ballots, a little bit more, almost 600 ballots were counted in this room. That's more than a precinct. The last 2 years, Crook County spent $40,000 just on licensing fees for ES&S. That doesn't include the cost of machines, that doesn't include the paper, it doesn't include anything else that's gonna happen in the election. Just the licensing fee to be able to use the machines in this next election, they spent $40,000.
Do you know the number of ballots that were counted in Crook County?
3,200 ballots in Crook County last time, so.
That's more than
only
$100 a ballot. More than $100 a ballot? Is that correct?
$100, no, yeah, that'd be $100, yeah, $100 a ballot, yeah. No, wait, $10 ballot, $10 ballot for the 40,000. Like 12,
Yeah.
$15 ballot.
Okay, sorry.
But-
Yeah, I have my
So the
math
hand
wrong.
counting cost is roughly $1.50, $1.70 per ballot for hand counting. So I want to put that number out there. The other thing is, I run a technology company. And you've all heard of AI, right? AI.
Unfortunately.
This last week, there was a new AI tool that was released that people have been installing on their local machines. It's called ClodBot or MoltBot. Doesn't matter what it's called, but people are installing it on their local computers. That one was launched last weekend. There are now several million users of that, and yesterday, those AI bots created a Facebook for themselves and began interacting with themselves without any human interaction. AI was talking to itself. It's right now going on. That's in 1 week. I am, as a technology person, am frightened about the future. And if there's one thing that we can do, it's hand count our ballots to make sure we've got people that we want in office. Because the world's going to get really weird really fast. It's happening right now. Think about the number we just did here. Think about the math we just did. We need to go to hand counts. We need to go fast. And now that you've learned the process and seen what it is, start sharing that with people. Talk to people. This is important. Our elections are important. Our country's important. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm so involved. Technology is getting really scary really fast, so we need to go to hand counts. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. I agree. Okay. Anybody else have one last thought, or we're good to go for the next? Oh,
Dawn.
okay.
I just wanted to say that part of the pushback we also get, besides the fact that they inflate how much it's going to cost to hand count, is how much time that we're going to take to do it. but they're not factoring in all the machines that have to be delivered to all the, precincts. And there's no chain of custody with those, in our county anyway. There's a maintenance man that delivers them all over. And then they have to spend all this time doing the logic and accuracy tests, which are basically a dog and pony show, because those machines can be manipulated from an outside source at the time, during the election, whenever. And so the clerks don't realize how simple their life would be if all they had to do was have a ballot printed at their local printer and the people be involved in their elections. Their life would be so much easier, but now they spend all their time telling us how much work elections are, and they are. And they're very expensive because they're having to pay the licensing fees, they're paying employees to deliver, they're having to go pick them up. I mean, it would be so much simpler at the precinct level. And then noise-wise, a lot of the places don't have voting centers, it's just a precinct. So if you're counting at your precinct, you're gonna have a table of 4 people, maybe 8 at the most of your citizens that will hold each other accountable, have it be transparent and open to the public that wants to come and watch it. And you would be done faster than what we're doing with all this dog and pony show with the machines. And
Points well taken, that's awesome. Lady in the back?
I was just gonna reiterate, they always say they look at like 25 million instead of going precinct to precinct.
Yes.
So that's how they're scaring people. Like, that does, for me, I'm like, how are they gonna do that? Let's clarify that precinct by precinct. That's what I think the messaging needs to get out to. We're losing that messaging by letting them say it's the whole, the large picture instead of saying, no, the big chunk in one state. Because they always say, Wyoming, oh, you can do it in Wyoming, you only have 500,000 people. How are you gonna do it in Florida?
So you can do it per precinct. That's right. And how we do that, thank you everyone very much for definitely giving us input. And that's how we grow this and make it better. And we make mistakes. Well, I said this at one meeting, I'll say it, and I know you guys will laugh. I said, you screw yourself up to the top. So you screw up, and then you make it better. So there you go. So what we're going to talk about a little bit here is what the average time frame on some things are. One of them is, if you look at 250 to 300 ballots, you can do that in a 2.5 hour to 3 hour time frame if you have a table of 4. So that's kind of the gauge of what we do. I want all of you to write this down if you have a note, and if not, ask your friend or put it in your notes in your phone. Is go to uscase.org, and that's where all this information is at. This is where also fully amount of tally sheets is able to be printed out, just what you saw. Rick Weibel, he is a miraculous person. He's from South Dakota. He has put this all out there, and it's all for free for any state across the state of the union to be able to use for their hand counting. So there's so much information on there. One of the things that's on there you would love, it comes out in an Excel sheet, is if you have 2,000 in a precinct, it comes out in this little calculating thing, you just add the numbers in. Like if you know you have 2,000 in your precinct and you want to get it done in 3 hours, and we have 3 races that have, count 9 or 9, or you're supposed to vote for 9 or whatever. You put those in there, and then it'll figure at the bottom what it'll cost per person, the time frame, how many teams you need. He's made it so simple so that everybody can have a guideline for their own county. Now, granted, every county is going to customize it to their own, and that's a good thing, because every county is different, and every county has special needs on different things. So that's the thing that we have. The other thing is I have up here, and I have 2 books. It's called The Gold Standard Elections. This is an absolute, just a simple little book, and it tells you everything that you will have learned today. And it's a way that you can help with people and teach them another class. So it's not a hard thing, but it's a thing. And we need to help that. I love, someone talking about civic duty and community. Yes, and it's just so important we get back to that, because we have lost that. I did teach Chugwater School. We had a group of junior high people come up, and they just absolutely went wild with this. And they got it just like this, and they wanted to do more, and we only did like 10 races, and they were like, well, let's do more. We don't have any more in our county, you know. But you are absolutely right. We need to get into our schools. We can do it either in the junior, senior high school when they're teaching government or whatever, and get into the junior high. And you know that we can have a 16-year-old help in our elections. We need to get them involved because it's our civic duty. Yes, ma'am.
The other thing is the schools have elections for their own people.
Yes.
And if they thought people were cheating on the counting,
That's
it would
right.
be nice to coincide it with that, with them voting for their
Absolutely. Very good.
president, vice president.
Yes, very true. Yes. So I encourage everybody to do that. Now what we're going to go through, is there any questions on that? Yes.
Would you reiterate that website? Because you
Yes.
told us to get our paper after you said it.
US Case, that's CASE, .org. And on there you will find a plethora of everything. He has these ballots that I have out here that you just did. You can print them off for your own little group. You can have the tally sheets. You also have the calculator. He also goes in and explains how to do different things. He has videos of actual counting so that you can see him at different places across the country. I encourage you to go there and just look at everything, and it won't take you very long, but there's a lot of information at your fingertips, and it's all free.
I will have that link on the description of this video this week when it's put together.
Wonderful, thank you. And that is Rick Weibel at uscase.org, and he is a absolute godsend to Wyoming because he helped with the situation with the forensics across the state with me. I did a lot of FOIAs and helped with Laramie County, helped in the background with Weston County and all these counties, and we all have to work together. We all have our special gifts and what we know, but we all need to communicate and be transparent about how we can help bring the purity of our vote back. And I know some people say, oh, election integrity. I think that's just a buzzword anymore because we really don't know what that means anymore. But what we need is the pureness of the vote. And someone said it about the actual intent of the voter is so critical. It is so critical, and we've gone past that. And I've heard so many times when I've talked to clerks across the state, they say, well, up there is the rules. Well, I understand the rules, but if you have a gentleman that just had surgery and he can't write, maybe somebody can circle something for him or whatever. It's what the intent of the voter needs to be done. And that's what we're going to be working on and bringing it back to our communities and bringing it back to the community whatsoever. Now I'm going to go through, this is a 3-hour presentation. We're not going to go through it, but there are some things that usually people like to look at. The one thing that I like the best is it says a result, or do you want the result? And that's our goal, is to give you the result, not just the result so everybody's happy at the end of the day and say, woohoo, this we lost or we won, whatever. We want the real. We want purity. So, maybe it's not working. You know how technology is.
AI took over.
It's not working. Anyway, that's okay. That's Rick Weibel. Here's your uscase.org. And I encourage everybody to go there and just surf around, and you will be very pleased at what you find. Some of the problems that we had in Wyoming is mismatched ballots. Weston County, hello, I'm talking to the choir. We had equipment malfunctions, paper jams, scanning failures, touchscreen bugs, which is amazing, and malware and viruses. And someone mentioned about Windows 10. Yes. Do you realize that the EAC stands for Elections Commission Assistants? They are the overseer and they certify all of our elections. Do you realize that there is zero effort to go and update all the systems across the state from Windows 10 to Windows 11 on all the existing systems. Now they are selling new systems, DS300s, DS550s, bring some more money and we'll satisfy. But the sad thing is guess what they have on them? Windows 10.
No way.
Rick and I were in there, we're going like, holy crap. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, it was upsetting. Inadequate testing protocols. Now, I know a lot of people say, the logic and accuracy testing isn't really that big a deal. Okay, in the overall spectrum, yes, I agree. But if you don't get the foundation correct, if you don't see that, maybe there's an algorithm in there, because when you do the logic and accuracy testing, you see that there is something that is incorrect. You don't know what. And then the unfortunate thing is we aren't able to get into our system logs, any of them, to see what happened. So it is so critical that our logic and accuracy testing is done correctly. And I can verify, and I have evidence, I have 12 totes of evidence that not one county passed in the 2024 primary. Hence, I called Chuck and said, Chuck, help! That's why he reissued, so that all the counties had to retest. And some of them opted not to, and some of them just did the same thing again. I'm sorry, your county just did the same thing again, so it failed as well. And this is just all around the state. In our general election, there was one that was close, but they all failed again. So this is a bad thing, because we have to have solid foundations before we can go and find anything else. So this is very important. This is important. We have a couple of things. One of our option A is to get rid of the machines and go to hand counting. Or B, this is all the stuff we need to do to get our systems running now. Source code available for state parties for audit code. That's not going to happen. Logic and accuracy testing review by the Secretary of State. That's not happening. All election systems shall have supported operating systems and current antivirus. Do you realize on our systems right now the antivirus is 2022 or older? Does anybody on your own computer had an antivirus update just recently? It's like every day. So anyway, any failed logic and accuracy contests may be hand counted to ensure integrity of elections. Wouldn't that be awesome? I'd rather just remove the machines and hand count. Eliminate write-in options for all races. And the reasoning for that is because of the burdensome of all the write-ins. And also we hear a lot of times somebody just writes somebody in to annoy everybody. And that's sometimes what write-ins are about. So, and the other one is uncontested races shall automatically win and not be on the ballot. I like that idea. South Dakota does that. Minnesota does that. Multiple states. We do that. I mean, we have that in Platte County. Do you guys have the same thing here? That you have uncontested races?
Oh, yeah.
No? Okay. Another one. All cast vote records, reports shall be considered public records. Yeah. That would be awesome. Post-election audits must be bipartisan hand count of election contests. In other words, 10% of precincts with 4 races minimum. And clerks no longer are allowed to self-determine if the post-election audit is accurate and shall be bipartisan. That is like the government asking if the government did okay and letting the government say so. You know, the clerks, and I'm not picking on the clerks, but they are in a precarious position. And I'll explain why here in a little bit more. So do you like option A or option B? Option B costs millions of dollars. He just contested that, you know, lots of money, $100 per ballot. In Platte County, we are at $6.69 versus $1.13 for hand counting. That is what our costs are. You can do it in every one of your counties. You can ask for your get a public request on your maintenance hardware contract. It tells you what they pay every year on it. And then you can take that, add the ballot printing, because you have to have special ballots printed in the right place so the machines can see it, and then compare it to hand counting. Big, huge difference. Okay, we have 3 ballots in our system. Does everybody understand the 3 ballots? We have the regular standard ballot, okay? Then we have what's called an express vote. That's the one that's for the disabilities. Okay, for people who can't fill out the ovals, they can go over to a screen and touch screen it. They can hear it, or they can blow in it if they can't touch or speak or move. So it's all for disabled. And then we have a third one that everybody seems to overlook, which is used quite often, is called the ballot on demand. That's the one that they have in their office or somewhere that we don't quite know where it is, why is it not transparent? That they print out. Okay, I ran short on one precinct, so I print some more ballots. Every printer has a different patent and proprietary information, so they print different. Canon prints different than HP and so on and so forth.
I have to say, you know, while everybody else is thinking about running for election and how to do that, we have a budget. We have a serious budget. We have a legislature that has weighed in, I think, on one vision of Wyoming, and I think it's very important to be thoughtful. And let me say, not a legislature, a joint appropriations committee. But that's the job I have. That's what I was elected to do. And I'm not, yeah. When I always tell this story. So Dad told me to go water the chickens. And so I spent the entire morning figuring out a way I didn't have to carry the pails of water over to the chickens. And at noon, he said, so did you get the chickens watered? And I said, I got this really cool thing, Dad. And he said, but I told you, go water the chickens. And I think I've got that job. Make sure that we get through this budget session. Thank you.
Every printer has a different patent and proprietary information, so they print different. Canon prints different than HP and so on and so forth. So they all have to be tested. Our last election, our clerk only tested 16 ballots. Isn't that something? A ballot on demand. And they did quite a few. In our county, we do all absentee ballots is on ballot on demand. And then we didn't test it on the machine. Just some things that make you go, another thing that is interesting is, for time's sake, I'll keep going here because I know you want to be out by 2. This is the first statute that I saw that just really made me go, uh-oh. On 2211-104, it says predetermined number of valid votes for each candidate on each measure. And if you look at your logic and accuracy testing, you're going, so every line, every oval has to be accounted for. And it says during the test, a different number of valid votes shall be assigned to each candidate for an office and for each against each measure. So every oval in every race has to be counted, and it has to be tested. Okay? And the other thing is you can have duplicate numbers. It has to be a different number, because sometimes if you have 20 in one race and 20 in another race, well, we don't know if it flips it or not, do we? So we have to have them totally different numbers. And this kind of keeps me off to the next thing. If any error is detected, the cause of it shall be ascertained and corrected. It didn't say maybe corrected. It said corrected, and an errorless count shall be secured and certified by the county clerk. Okay. Every, unfortunately, county had challenges. So this is where the release from Chuck Gray sent out about the recount, the retest. This same statute actually puts clerks in the aspect of committing six felonies. And there's only one that only had 5 felonies. The rest of them were in there. And I don't think that's quite fair to the clerks because they're not following through on doing the statutes. And what you hear across the state, and I'm not picking on clerks, I'm just telling you what happened. What you hear across the state, and raise your hand if you understand this, you always hear, well, we do statutorily minimum. Anybody else heard that? Oh yeah. And that can't be, not in this. So, and also, it's a felon. 22-26-119, violation of election codes officials. And it says any official, deputy, or assistant who commits a violation of election code is guilty of a felony is subject to a removal from the office proceeding institute for that purpose. And I bet you Dick Carey knows that one very well. Trying to get that done here, which is, it's statute. Are we following laws or are we not? So we'll go here. This is one from Platte County in 2022. And just what I was saying, what we need to look at is we have these different races. Do you see anything that might be triggering your mind going, we have 3 ballots and we have to have no duplicate numbers. 9, 9, 9, 9. So did all those flip and we don't know who won? We over here, 69, 69, 69, 66. Here we go. It's crazy. We have 13 and 13. We don't know. We didn't do the basic foundation first of those machines to see if we had anything wrong in our machines. So that's in 2022, guys. Here's 2024. Same thing. He had write-in totals. He had two in that testing. Which ballot did he not test? Did he not test the ballot on demand? I would suggest that, but we don't know that. Did he not test the express vote for the disability? Or did he not test the standard? And I'm not picking on him, I'm just saying this is how it needs to be done. And overvotes. Overvotes should have 2 because we know the computer kicks it out. The machines kick it out. So we have to have at least 2 in there because we have 3 ballots, 1 will be kicked out. So he did 1. So which of the other ones did he not test? We don't know. And he has to do it on all of them. This is another one in Platte County, same thing. Now I have everybody's in here. So Teton did the same thing. Fremont, oh, this is a very important thing. When they go and they do the logic and accuracy testing, they have to sign a certificate that goes to the Secretary of State. And it says, and it's right here, it says, subsequently tested by using the following ballot types. Express vote, ballot on demand, and presented by printer. Additionally, each ballot marking device has been tested for accuracy of marking ballots. And they sign that. That is a perjury set because they didn't test them. We just saw that there was duplicates. We saw that there was maybe 1. So that's why we're finding some challenges in our states. We either follow the statutes or we don't. I say get rid of the machines.
Yes.
So, and there's all kinds here. Weston's at the end, but I'm just telling you, everybody had problems. Just for proof of that. Uinta, just a tiny little town of Uinta. Oh, this one you'll love. She did this on the last 2 years. I got a 22 and a 24, and this is how she printed out her results, okay? Then when I FOIA'd her this year, this is what she printed out. And I said, oh, no, that's just an Excel sheet of your projection of what you want to put in to do logic and accuracy testing. And she said, that's the only thing I have. Well, she lied to me. I sent it to the Secretary of State. His attorney sent information, and she still, to this point, has not responded back. That's more than 30 days. We got a challenge. That is not a legal document from an election testing. And see, they're getting a little sly this year, and I think that's what they're trying to do, is because this way nobody can get them for anything, because it's not a legal document. Here's another thing. When she tested, she says, I will not be using ballot on demand. So her maximum is 2. So at least we understand that. Okay? But if you go back, oh, I don't, yeah. Nope, this isn't going to have that one on here. But here, she only has, like for overvote, on her testing, her pre-testing, she only has 1 in here. So is that what she followed through to do? We don't know. We don't have a legal document. So anyway, I'm just going through all of these, so you know I'm not telling stories. You know, right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, that's great. Which 2 ballots didn't get Trump and Vance tested for? Had 3. This one has 2. Which one of the 3 didn't get tested there? So there's all kinds of things that are going on in their state. The penalty for filing a false document. A person commits a felony for punishable by imprisonment for not more than 2 years, a fine of not more than $2,000 or both. Okay, here's another one. She signed it. She did not test them all. Then this is to kind of like make your skin boil, or am I the only one that's okay, and we'll just keep going. This is Hot Springs. They did it. It's kind of chaos, but you can see here's a 1 for Barrasso, a 2 for Holtz, which ballots didn't get counted. It's the same type of system all across the way. Hot Springs, Johnson, Laramie. That is an absolute chaos. They only use the express vote, which is for the handicap. They don't use the DS200s. So that's why you see the new bill pen to paper, because they want them to use the standard votes, just like what we were counting today. Those are called standard votes, okay? So that's a challenge with that. And yet we still have, this is what they had, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40. We don't know if anything was flipped or what. We don't know if there's an algorithm in there. And this is what the GOP took a long time to get this documentation, because she didn't want to show it. She knew. Laramie again. She had all these things here, but yet we have duplicates. It's just crazy. And then when we did the forensic, we had all these ballots, but you see here, there's no express vote. This is an express vote card. This is what it looks like. Can all of you see that? There wasn't one in this precinct, nor in this one, nor in this one, nor in this one. So we know she didn't test for them. So it's pretty scary. Natrona. I know someone was from Natrona, or originated from, whatever. Okay. This is Park County, they had challenges. 2, 2, 1, 2, we don't know. Sweetwater. Washakie. Oh, guess who's next? Weston County. You had an 8, 6, 6, 8. So 2 8s, 2 6s, oh, and another 8. Here's the one down here, 8, 9, 2, 8. Which one did you, well, that's right, that's overvote, they would only have 2. Over here, we have a 0. How do you count 0? 0 is not a number. But what you understand is each section of this, if you read the statute, is a felony. So when you see like 5 or 10 just on one sheet, oh my. Remove the machines. Just to continue on, I'm not going to go into the executive session, the executive order, because it's changing as we do, but real quick, the executive order that Trump put out March 25 said that all machines have to be up to date, which our statutes say it has to be up to date. Ours is not. Like I said, our malware and viruses is 2022. That is not up to date. And we have to run on VVSG, which is Voter Voluntary Guidelines 2.0. Ours are all 1.0. Okay? So we cannot certify our machines. There should be absolutely no one using this machine this next election. I've had this multiple kinds of discussions with Chuck and legislatures and everything, is we cannot use them. They are not certifiable. You will be sued from wherever, from anyone, and have every right, and they would lose. I'm reading statutes. Either we follow statutes or we don't. And this is just one I went in to tell you that there's only one, Hart Civic, that has one that's on a VVSG 2.0. No one else. We are ES&S. Then we have the systems that are under test right now. 2 of them. One's from Voting Works and one's from Smartmatic Corporation. Anybody ever heard of Smartmatic in the news lately? Crazy. This is our certificate. We are running on the voting certificate of 6.0, and it says it's in VVSG 1.0. But this is the funny thing that you'll love. Our certificate says, this certificate is not an endorsement of the product by any agency of the U.S. government, and no warranty of the product is either expressed or implied. Now, doesn't that just give you warm and fuzzies on the machine you're using? Isn't that crazy? These are some of the things that are allowed in the system. Here's 2 other things that we have going wrong in our thing. You see this Oki? That is a printer. And they have different numbers that are allowed on the certificate. We have, in this state, every county has an Oki 712. It's not on there. It's an illegal piece of equipment. It cannot be run. We also have the Dell Latitude. Where are we at here? Maybe on the next page. The Dell Latitude. This says 5580. Every county has a 3500. It's not certifiable. When we brought this to the attention, Clay Parikh, who is one of the forensics out of Alabama, and Rick Weibel and myself, we went in front of the Secretary of State back in I think it was June of the 2024, and we explained this to him. You can't use it. The other thing is, in that meeting that we had 5 clerks that were on the call with us. It was a Zoom call. And that's where we learned that they use what's called a Systor duplicator. And what that does is they get the ballots, they take this, they go to the Systor, and it duplicates to all the thumb drives that go into each and every one of those election machines, all the DS200s, all the express votes. Okay, this is not a certified machine. We don't know what it's doing. So that's where we learned about that. The other disclaimer, you'll love this. In accordance with the United States Election Assistance Commission Testing and Certification Program Manual, version 2.0, ES&S hereby notifies the purchaser that any changes or modifications to an EAC-approved system have not been tested and certified by the EAC will what? Void the EAC certification for such an EAC approved system. So we have three things. The Dell Latitude 3500, we have the Oki 712, and we have the Systor. So it's gone. We can't use them. We also caught the EAC lying to our Secretary of State, and that gets into a lot of talking, but they were talking that a ballot on demand is not considered a legitimate ballot, and I'm like, yeah, HAVA says it does. HAVA is the Help America Vote Out that came in after the Chads from Miami, and they made that in 2002, and oh boy, it's done nothing but not help. I'm going through here real quick. We're talking about the Windows Update. I already let you know. The other thing that's about Windows Updates is all of our systems can't physically be updated. And the reason for that is it takes a lot of memory, RAM memory, to update Windows 11, and ours doesn't have it. The other thing that's about Windows Updates is all of our systems can't physically be updated. And the reason for that is it takes a lot of memory, RAM memory, to update Windows 11, and ours doesn't have it. So it can't physically be done. It just can't be done. And this is the voluntary voting guidelines, and since we have it in our statute, it's not voluntary anymore. And it says, vendors shall develop and document the procedures to be followed to ensure that such protection is maintained in current status for all the worms and Trojan horses and logics, all kinds of things. And this, if you can see that from there, I lost my water. There we go.
It's coming to you.
Thank you. See, I'm talking too much. I need to stop. Okay. This was just the 2024 list when we showed this first with Rick Weigel when he came, and we told them that we had over 74 million that was in that year alone. And we weren't up to date. Here's another one in 2025, 56 million. And this just shows different places from April to 2024 during our election. We were not covered were all of these malwares and these Trojans. Another thing, this is where we caught ES&S line, is here, an executive order change order, an engineering change order 1141. All of our systems were supposed to be updated for a print nightmare, and in the meantime, they were going to update Windows operating system to Windows 10. Okay, they said they were supposed to update the system. It's not from 7 to 10, and they were already 10, but they were just to update it, okay? This is in 6/8 of 2022. Then we get this email when I FOIA it. This comes from ES&S to Chuck Gray, the Secretary of State. It says the engineering change order 1141 is something that can be updated. However, ES&S would need approval before we can update this made. Attached is a request for approval letter in 2022, and this is something we should have followed up on. They didn't do it.
And the date's 2024 on that email.
And this is 2024, July 31st. I can guarantee you they didn't come in from July 21st till the 10th of August to update our systems. Because the 10th of August was our primary. Didn't happen.
And yet they still charge that $40,000 per our county maintenance.
Mm-hmm. They sure do. Mm-hmm. They sure do. And see, it's just mind-boggling. More of the viruses. Trying to get to some more. Oh, these are systems that have newer systems, but as I was talking about, these are all systems done on Windows 10. They don't even have any with Windows 11. So we are really bad across the station. We don't have any system that's updated. And I think that's about it that I'm on this one. We always hear this. I don't know if there's no time to fix this. There is absolutely time to fix this. We get rid of the machines. Yes. Do it right now. And you guys are the leaders on the next session of telling people how to do this hand count. You can go to uscase.org, learn a little bit more about it, share it with your church group, share it with your high school students, share it with everybody so that we're more comfortable with it, and we also gain from that is we get community. We get back to those things. Did anybody, when you were growing up, ever have like every Saturday night you had a roller skating party, or maybe it was a band or something? We have lost that. And this would be a great way to get us back. And that's why we don't communicate anymore. We need to communicate. So, and I apologize for going so fast. Here's a couple of things that I think we talked about. Like there's a circle that someone couldn't do the oval. And we also know on the voter intent, if you guys are looking at that, you know which one to go. That you would put right here. He put Tony Evers and he did Tim Michaels, but he said take this one. We logically would say, if that was at our table, we would say, oh, take this one. Okay? Same way here, he said no, and let's do Ron. Same way here, it's circled. And it's funny that you say that. There was somebody that wanted Donald Trump so badly, they voted for him here and put him down the write-in. What's unfortunate, that ran through the machine, overvote, canceled the vote.
Well, wouldn't that be true of those others that were marked? They would either count as an overvote or an undervote?
Yes.
Yep.
On the left? So
Yes.
none of those people got counted.
Right.
Yep. The voter intent is so important, and we've gotten away from it. And here's another one with a write-in. Rick Weibel knew this guy personally, and he said, hey, you actually got more votes than you really thought of. He won, but very close. But then all these, where the fold was, it was counted as overvotes, so then he would lose some of his race, but he did end up winning, so that was a good thing. Here's more with folds. And here's some resources, uscase.org, and I've already shared that with you. Okay, any questions about what wild things are in front of us?
Jill, I'd like to make a remark about malware.
Uh-huh.
When I was employed by Northrop, our security there was very distressed because we had evidence that China had copied a lot of our design data.
Oh boy, yes.
And so we began having sort of a bulletin issued to us at least once a week from IT security, I think is what they call it, or cyber security is what some of you would call it. And then we'd get a real long presentation about once a month. And then we'd have to also take a test. And one of the demonstrations that our security guys did is they showed that in office equipment where there's a Wi-Fi, some of the malware that was written by the Chinese Communist Party was rigged to copy itself from, let's say, somebody's phone who was already on the Wi-Fi, it would copy itself, I know this sounds incredible, to the smart printer, and then from there to some other device in the office. So you can replicate, but this malware is rigged to copy itself.
Yep.
Now, we also learned, and they banned the use of USB memory sticks where I worked, because most of them, when they were evaluated, all the commercial ones that were available, when they were evaluated by our security guys, they had malware already stored on the USB memory stick.
Oh my gosh.
Now, you can take one of them at home, stick it on your computer and look at, when you right click and look at properties, you'll see the actual memory is a little less than what it's labeled, and then you'll find out that there's code on it if you explore that a little bit. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what's that code for? Is that just something, benign? Or is it something maybe not benign?
Exactly. We don't know.
We don't know unless you were to really be an expert where you could break down because it's in machine code. You'd have to have some kind of reverse compiler to look at what that machine code really did. And most of us don't have that ability. I certainly don't. I mean, many, many years ago I did on less complicated things, but I have just enough knowledge now that's left to tell me that we shouldn't be using USB memory sticks on our voting machines, but guess what?
That's their commute.
That's how they do it.
That's how they do it, absolutely. The other thing, and Mark can probably attest to that, all of the components inside of our ES&S machines, guess where they're from? China. You know, China's the only one that makes some of those chips that are in there, and of course we go through Taiwan so that we can look like we're legal, but you know, we're not. So that's where we have, yes ma'am, Susan.
So I got a question on Windows 10, Windows 11. I'm really simple-minded on it. So our little machines that we have are Windows 10, and there's no support for that after a certain date, whatever?
After October 15th of this last year.
Because there's no support, does that mean they just won't work? Or will they work, but you just can't?
It just means they won't be providing any additional updates.
Correct.
And so, like, as different code comes out for different apps and internet browsers and things like that, Windows 10 may actually stop being able to function with those things. Usually it takes quite a while, but it's more the security updates because they're not going to be focused. They may still release security patches, but the focus is on Windows 11.
Right.
So.
The other thing with...
I'm going to turn them on the, you know, end of July and it's going to be July.
No.
Okay, that's what
Like you can still be running Windows XP even if you're...
The thing that also is a part of that is ES&S is updated to Windows 11. So all of their information comes to the counties on their thumb drives is Windows 11. So if you plug that stick into Windows 10, unless they have an absolute program in there to manipulate it and talk to it and say, oh, let's give you little clouds and put you up there, we cannot update, which not that we want to. Anyway, good question. Anybody else have questions and concerns? I just wanted to make one other suggestion is we see in the news that Fulton County, everybody seen Fulton County's being audited, okay? Did you notice that it was done by the FBI?
Yeah.
Did you also know who else was there?
Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard. What does that tell you? It's an international security problem. So we're talking big things, guys, and Fulton County is just one of many. We know Colorado's next, or not necessarily next, but we know Arizona, we know Texas, we know Pennsylvania has some really problems. You know, Wyoming, we have problems. They're going to be coming to all the states, which I am just blessed to know that one, and they're going to be auditing everything. So that's a really good thing. Don't know when, but that is what's in the pipeline of what they're trying to tell us is that, yes, we're going to start holding people to account, and this is great. So I hope within the next, I don't know, I'm not even going to say because I don't want to put any feet up, but I hope there is some type of an executive order and or legislative pass that puts us back to hand counting and bring us back to the purity of our vote and the intention of the vote and the voter. So we need to speak loudly, you know, very, very politely, but very loudly, that this is what we want. So I'm opening it to the floor if there's any questions on anything we've done, and I will get us out by 2. So, oh, one more thing. Tips, any type of things you'd like, put them in those plates or those little, oh, there it is over there. Put it in there, and then I will donate that to the church to say thank you for letting us have the actual use of that. So anyway, please put something in there so that Pastor can have some help on that. So, any questions? Yes, Don?
We're not going to tabulate.
Oh, I wanted to do tabulate. Thank you. We're not going to actually do the tabulation, but I want to explain to you. When you saw in your books, there was like some pages that just had lines in there and no colors. Those are the tallying books. And what you do is at the bottom of your race that you did, you would go find the place where it said tallying, like you're the first tally. You would be the first tally on, say you were on the Supreme Court. And you would go in and at the bottom you put your totals there, okay? Then that sheet is transferred to the next sheet, and that next sheet takes the whole amount. If there's like 3 tables that were on this precinct that were working together, then those totals are done, and then the totals are transferred over, and then they're put on the clerk's sheet of paper that says, this is what we counted in this precinct, this is the clerk, okay. Then you keep one tally book in your possession, and the other one goes to the clerk. And that's what I have been voting for doing in Platte County, is even when we do it with our poll books. for the mere fact, if the clerk goes and reports something and it's not quite coincide with what's in the poll book, then we have actual evidence one way or another. So that's what I would suggest with these tallies. But yes, the tally, we're not going to actually go do through the tallies, but that's how it's done. So after you get done with those, and I think most of you went to the bottom and put your totals in the bottom, those numbers are just transferred to the tally sheet at the very end where it says tally. Then you put yours down there for whatever race, and you put your total in there, and then it goes to the one that you tally on the clerk, and so on and so forth.
I don't know if 4 people have to verify it, and
Oh yeah, you just follow what's on the sheets. The sheets say all 4 election judges sign at the bottom. And I did not walk you through. The very top has, like if you're doing on the 3rd sheet of the same precinct or whatever, you would do 3rd sheet of 3 or the 2nd sheet of 3. You would put that, you'd fill in the very top, and they were very self-explanatory. And sometimes I don't do that because it might take up time because we have good questions and just do that. But just most of those are all self-explanatory. So, very good. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
If there was a write-in candidate, does those show up on the tally sheet then, or where would the write-in candidate?
It would go into write-in, and then the clerk would have to come back and adjudicate.
They do that.
Yep.
So
Yes, ma'am.
doesn't it have to reach a certain amount? You have to have like a certain percentage
Yep.
of write-ins before they have to go back and look at them.
Correct.
So you have to have a substantial amount of write-ins before they even go back and count them.
Correct, and that's statute.
Yep.
Okay, everybody take your hands. You did a great job.